Well, hello there, and welcome to a new episode of Mark My Words. And today I am here with somebody who I haven't talked to since about the end of February when we were getting all this terrible weather. Texas, which is where my guest hails from, was more or less falling apart. But the good news is her career and her life just keeps getting better and better. And it started off this year with Taylor Harrell Goodwin being deemed in Austin Woman magazine a woman to watch in 2021. She is an entrepreneur with a hospitality background, among many other things. She's got some really cool stuff going on in her life. And I'm going to try, she's like CEO of everything. CEO and founder of the Lively Company, CEO and founder of Lively Sisterhood, and also, I suppose he just started these up, the Lively Travel Company and Lively Event Company. Taylor, welcome to Mark My Words. How you doing today?
Thank you so much. Yes, I am a woman of many things.
Yeah, you have a lot going on. I know when we were talking back in February, you were like, hey, I don't really know when I'm going to have time to to do the podcast because I just have so much going on. You were closing deals and all kinds of stuff. So that's really amazing. What a way to start the year.
it it's been an interesting year, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, I started off like my baby. I call it my main baby. Was a travel agency. So I started in October of 2019. Became Austin Women's for a Woman to Watch for 2020, and then running for 2021. So the award show is actually tomorrow night, and I'm up for 8 nominations and 6 different categories for the Austin Businesswomen Awards.
Wow.
So it's it's been a journey, but yeah, I started off with a travel agency, and then I started really thinking about how I want to help like other women and girls. So I created the Lively Sisterhood, and was kind of looking at it from a standpoint of, so I have a baby sister. We're 6 years apart. So I'm not 6 years apart. She's 6 years old. We're 21 years apart. So big, huge like age gap. Parents started over, and I've always wanted to have a sibling. And I just been kind of thinking like ever since she was born, how can I create like a platform that is truly all about like female empowerment, women in leadership, taking big roles, even in industries that are dominated by men. And so I just kept thinking of like how would this feel? How would I create this? What kind of people would support me? Even if it's like I'm all about like females, like would the men be supportive? And I kept just asking these questions, and I started just kind of running with it. And then I got a lot of support. And I mean, my sister and I, we just started off with just creating bath bombs. So just from bath bombs and just kind of selling them at like farmers markets and like friends and family, and then like to our Lively network. And like that took off in itself. And then that's when we started creating, like, we have an activewear now on Lively Sisterhood on our website, and every product and service sold for Lively gives back to charities and organizations. And I loved about the whole giving back. And this is where I was learning about, that's my baby sister's name. Just kind of like she's learning right now about how to take care of like her animals like at home, and just about like what goes into things that like we eat or what goes in the ground. And so she's in this very like exciting like phase in her life, and just all the things that she's learning. So it's just I put it in into consideration of, okay, what's next for Lively. And so that's where I started creating the Lively Emerging Leaders Program, and that is where I'm bringing in the girls part of this. And so high schoolers and even women now, as I teach them how to start their own business. And that's where me and you kind of like left off and haven't talked because it's been crazy.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy on my end, crazy on your end. And I'm glad you corrected me because once you said, well, you didn't actually correct me, but I figured out I was wrong because that article I saw for Austin Woman did actually say January 2020. So I guess I still feel like we're in 2020, which is probably not a good thing. So
I know. I always have to correct myself.
2020. So one theme that has come up an awful lot, and it probably has to do obviously with all the guests or the demographic of guests that I've had on this show this year, is female empowerment. And obviously, we live in a society right now that, that's a big deal. That's something that's really on the forefront of our culture. And I'm kind of curious to know how female empowerment became like important to you. Obviously, other than being a woman, it was it something that you were always thinking about doing? Was it something you became more interested in? How did that come about?
So I came from a long line of guys being being the boss. And I was always kind of wondering. So I started off before I became an entrepreneur. I was managing hotels, and I was going through Austin Community College doing my meeting and event planning and hospitality management. And I just kept noticing, like, why isn't there like more women that are either a head of like hospitality, even like in hotel management? Like, why is it all guys from like the front desk to sales to marketing to accounting? And I just started just seeing like this like trend, and I was just like, why is that? And are there programs that are more about like doing like women workshops, or even just putting more women in like heads of their industry, and like what does that look like? And so I just started like really questioning things, and I was like not happy in hotels, and I packed on 70 pounds, was working over 80-hour work weeks, and that's where I think with women is that we can mentally and physically handle all the multitasking and wearing many hats. And even as entrepreneurs, we have to be mindful of that, of being like, hey, we're just one person, we're just one body, and we're just one mind. So it's just mindfulness and being aware of that, of being like, hey, I shouldn't be taking on so much. And this goes for like just anybody who's like listening, is you don't have to take on so much. And this is where delegation and being within your boundaries and honoring yourself to be like, hey, I can have a positive work life and then also have a positive business. And I think it goes again with how teamwork should really be more of a focus. And whether it's in hospitality and travel, meeting and event planning, wherever it needs to be, even in the tech world, collaboration needs to be together. And that's where I'm trying to pull like the underdogs who I see, like in regards to, could be like Female or whoever. And I pull them and I'm like, hey, you'd be really great if like you might be really great in like graphics. Have you thought about communicating with sales about creating their graphics or whatever it may be? It's kind of starting like those conversations. And so when I'm having conversations with brands who are wanting to do like something like lively emerging leaders, and how would we go about that, it's just really creating like a dialogue and knowing that you can talk about it and be in a safe environment. Because like that's another thing, is like, how is your work environment? Is it toxic? Is it not healthy? What's making you feel like burnout? I mean, that was me in hotels. And that's when I was just like, you know what, dude, I feel like I'm going to die. It's crazy how I'm in my early 20s and I feel like I'm 40. I mean, it was just such a shift. And I say that, and it's just like, hey, that was such a wake up call for me. And this is when I started being like, you know what, I can have my own paying clients. I can, be my own boss. And I started to really what my grandparents always say to me is, once you're committed to something, follow through with it and do your best at it. And so every day when I'm working with Lively is, what did I learn today? How can I apply this? How can I be also a better person and better leader? So I just went on a whole tangent, didn't I?
Oh no, that's okay. I encourage tangents here. You say a lot of really good stuff. I mean, I know the more you dig into the entrepreneurial world, and especially when you get on an application like LinkedIn, you're trying to build yourself up like I am with this podcast. A lot of things you just said are things that people emphasize a lot, like what value are people getting from my product? And value has been a word I've been hearing so much that it's become like a regular part of my vocabulary. And I feel like everything you just said at the end of your tangent is basically emphasizing that, you're looking to give value and you're hoping that anybody who works with you gets value from you. And that's really what it comes down to. Because if you're just doing whatever, like if I just did this podcast and we were just, BSing the whole time and not really talking about anything tangible, we might have fun, but nobody's going to learn anything. Nobody's really going to care that much. And so you have to find value in what you're doing, especially when you're an entrepreneur or you're running, like a podcast or you're just creating whatever. Give them value. And one thing that I want to, right off of that on, you talked about being, a little bit younger than maybe a lot of other entrepreneurs out there. And I spotted that you actually started working in hotels and hospitality at 16. Tell me a little bit about how you jumped in, like you more or less jumped into the workforce at 16. That's pretty amazing because it's certainly different than working at McDonald's or doing some of the other typical kind of things. You really got right into it. Tell me a little bit about that.
So my mom just always told me, she was very straight up, that if I wanted to afford college, that I just needed to work my way. I had a little bit of a college fund, but not much. But it was up to me. And I remember even on my birthday, we were like driving around, like even doing like the whole like Starbucks, hotels, I mean, everything. And I was getting calls. And so how I originally started was, some of the hotels have like restaurants, and I was the like greeter hostess. And this guy came up to me. He was a regular, and he was like, "Hey Taylor, how are you?" He's like, "Have you ever?" He's like, "Do you know what I do?" And I was like, "Not really." I just know you're on a. I just know you're on a, like, work at a fancy place that overviews like Lake Travis, which is gorgeous here. It's right off the water, beautiful. It's secluded. You can hear nature. It's stunning and it's beautiful. And the sunsets are known. And he's like, "Yeah, come work for me. I think you'd be really great. You have a very bubbly personality. You always wear a smile on your face. You're very approachable." He's like, "You'd be perfect for the hotel world." And ever since then, I've been doing it. And now I have the travel agency and I get to do that, but I get to have fun and I get to really know my clients. I don't really like to use the word clients. I just like to say they're part of Team Lively, because you'll see that hashtag a lot if you're on Instagram. But yeah, I'm all about Team Lively because it's just like, hey, like, you're part of my family. I welcome you in, and it's such a personal brand for me because it's like I named Lively after my sister. And so it's even more personal ties for me. So it's like every time I feel like you're coming into the family. You're not just a number, you're a person who has feelings. And I want to know that I do you right, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And I feel like you got into this industry, it probably grew on you. And by a certain point, it's like, okay, like I know you went to community college. And if I'm remembering right, that was something that you picked as a major or a field of
I
study.
did.
What did you have in mind at that point to do with that?
For hospitality, so I was really looking for I kept being promoted like from front desk to like sales and even doing like events and weddings at this venue because it's right on like Travis. It's gorgeous. I mean, why not have a wedding?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
When there's like multiple pools, there's a lake, like why not? She's gorgeous there. And it still is today. And yeah, I just kind of started thinking, being like, how high can I go? Can I be like an AGM or a GM, a general manager of a hotel and do this? And so I was just like, you know what, I can. I totally can. And I should do this. And so I went in and then I got my meeting in event planning and working with more brands. And then that's when I got introduced to this is when South by Southwest is really big here in Austin, even pre-COVID. And I was like, why not work with even more brands and do more events like this and help creating it and help creating more collaboration and um, yeah. So I just started doing that and now I've been doing it and I just got done with over the weekend doing some event planning for Coda and then also helping out a local food truck and local companies or local businesses or I have a heart for them because it's just like I come from being an entrepreneur, but then also like how big can we grow your business and where you are because hospitality has given so much for me. And even with being an ACC kid and having that support in that community is so important to me, which is why I brought it into Lively about really harnessing our relationships with people. And that's another thing with Lively is that that's our mission is people and community come first above all things because it is really about people at the end of the day.
Wow. So that is super impressive to me in a number of ways. And one thing I'm going to tell you is when I was in my early 20s, the one thing I would never have had the guts to do is start a business, which is unbelievable. That really says a lot. And your reasoning for wanting to start your business is even more impressive at that point in your life. Because for me and many other people, it's like, okay, I got through college. I want to climb the ladder, which is something that you were motivated to do. And somehow you just had the confidence and the wherewithal to just say, you know what, maybe I want to change direction. I mean, was it just the idea of owning your own life and career, or was it just the ability to help people on a bigger level that really drew you to entrepreneurship?
It was just more being like fed up with the whole not having that work and life balance and the hospitality. And like it's I mean, why do you think the turnover rates are so high?
Well, that is very fair. I can understand, but
Look at it.
no, I understand. It's just that I feel like a lot of people, especially somebody that young, wouldn't be like, you know what, this I got this. I'm gonna do this on my own. I got this. So I'm just sitting here like, wow, that is just not spend the next 30 minutes talking about how impressed I am, but that is just really impressive to me.
Thank
So
you.
so you
I mean,
started
it's just
off. No, go ahead. After you.
I'm sorry. But I think it's just because like I've been talking to my grandparents, which I'm very, very close to them. And my grandfather is also an entrepreneur, started his own business too at a really young age. And now he's enjoying like the retired life and just been supporting me ever since I created Lively. And I've gone to him and I was just like, Papa, like I tried everything to like help me sleep. I tried the whole um getting the salt lamps, for example, getting taking valerian root. So it's like a type of tea, which by the way, I highly recommend. That definitely helps me out. And same with the salt lamps at night. It just creates that like tone and ambience a little bit. It's just more soothing and calming. But it was just like it's so crazy how I'm wired at 10 o'clock at night from working a 15-hour shift or even a 12-hour or whatever it is. But long shifts are well known in the hospitality world, especially now since they're all understaffed and just everything else. It's just been a tumbling effect, pretty much, snowball.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, hey, Papa, I'm tired of feeling the way I do. I feel like I'm 40. I feel like I'm near death. I packed on 70 pounds. I started to really hate me and hate myself and hating how I was treating like others like in my life just because I was so mentally and physically exhausted. And I was just like, this is not healthy. And like I need to stop doing this. I need to make a change. And it's the same thing. Like I'm still a member for the Austin Hotels and Lodging Association. I'm still a member of that. So I give them advice and I remind them and I fight for people who are in hospitality that yes, we do need to make an emphasis on not working 15-hour days straight or even back to back, like 4 days in a row, and you've been working 12-hour plus shifts. That's not healthy and that's not really normal. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, and I feel like the the obstacles that you have in that industry, they exist in other industries because you hear a lot about, oh, everybody's working from home, everybody has quality of life, and everybody's just kicking back and putting their feet up and coasting through, making X amount of dollars, and life is great. It is not like that. I mean, it's there's still a lot of industries and a lot of folks working in these industries that are working extremely hard and running themselves into the ground. So it's amazing that you were able to say, you know what, even at an early age, you're like, I'm not going to put myself through this for like 40 or 50 more years. I want to
No,
take
there's
control.
no way. No way. There's no way about it. I was like, no, I'm not doing this to myself. And that's where I drew my boundary. And I was just like, enough is enough. And then literally after I made that decision, I put in my notice and I was like, I'm done. And even what scared me was like, I didn't have a lot in savings, even though my grandfather was like, save up another paycheck. I was just like, nope, I'm gonna figure it out. I have 500 bucks. I'm gonna do what I need to do, and I'm gonna start Lively, and that's what I did. And I look at it now, and I was like, wow, what an honor and a privilege to like. This is where I get emotional because it's just like, wow, like I'm so incredibly like humbled. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just like when you be like, yeah, I have 500 bucks. I moved out at my parents' house when I was young too. So I've been on my own ever since. And also like going to school and doing all the things. And I was just like, you know what? If anybody can do it, I know that I can and I can do this. Like whether people support me or not, or with my grandparents like support and I did. And it's been an honor and it's been privileged to be of service to others and also to be an advocate for others as well.
So that's really amazing. What an attitude. I love this. This is like no, my day was already good. And this is why I do this podcast, because I mean, more than one reason, but just really I love just feeling the inspiration and the motivation in all this, and it never gets old. So putting that aside for a moment, I want to ask you about starting up the Lively company and just some of the challenges, other than nominal, of course. What were some of the challenges? When did you kind of know, okay, this is starting to take off? I got this.
I think a lot of it was coming from a place of fear and uncertainty if I could really do this by myself. And but then also owning like my power and my position that, I am the CEO. I can make these decisions. And even if I have to make hard decisions, for example, even COVID, on like what to do and how to pivot even during that time. And so with Lively, I was just like, a little bit was just a part of reaching out to others who I previously worked with and worked for, and said, hey, like on my own, this is what I'm doing with the travel agency. This is kind of where I see it. And I wanted it also to go back to, my sister being born. And I was like, I want this to make sure that's all female staff. I want all female staff. I want us to have a truly safe environment, a safe place to talk about things, even about like our challenges and stuff. Me, it was just kind of more, how can I bring more transparency into the workplace? That was my biggest thing. And I still have to say, like, I still have to speak my truth, even if I'm going against someone else's opinion on like how Lively should progress or like how we can improve on things. At the end of the day, knowing that my employees and just anybody who is a client of mine can come to me and we can talk about things and we can be respectful and have that open communication, that's really huge on me. So even having a little bit of like hesitancy about, oh, should I say this? Should I not say that? I was just like, no, I'm not gonna feel like I have to censor myself. And that was one of my other challenges, was not really owning Lively, where it's like now I can be like, wow, that was a massive shift from even just 6 months ago to where I am now. I'm not afraid to tell it like it is even more. I'm truly owning my power and my position and being the leader, and how can I improve each day to be a better leader, and like how I can be a better communicator. That was like another struggle. It's like, I'm not the best. Like for me, for example, I could give you a challenge is me writing things and putting my words on a piece of paper. I struggle. Like I just can't do it. And
You're not
so
alone.
even just me like hiring even a blogger, even a communicator, I was just like, I can tell you verbally and look at you and have this conversation, but I'm like, can you put it down on paper for me? And like, even I'm redoing my website and just all the things and just all the blogs that I've been doing, which is like a newer blog, which is also coming up for an award for blogger of the year, is Lively Chronicles. And I feature women that are in leadership positions and who own small businesses. And I feature them every Thursday. But even that took a moment for me to be like, well, maybe I am not the biggest communicator. And how can I overcome that, but still present it in a way where I'm open and I'm allowing the other person to be a voice for me and a voice for life.
So you talked a little bit about some of the growth and the initial building up of Lively Company, and then you kind of like created these other divisions. When did you like feel, okay, I can do more than just the core mission of this company? I can branch out and do all these other things. When did that come to you?
Um, Honestly, it was just all the client feedback being like, you should look into like creating a place where like you can feature others so that it can be more inclusive of community. And I was like, yes, what a great idea. I love that. And so I went with it. And the blog's like, what, like 5 months old, I want to say. But it's already gaining like a bunch of views and just like the comments and even people just liking it. I'm like, yes, you liked my post. And that I'm so appreciative of because it's like, yes, you actually took the time and you read what I had to read. And then you also got to like meet the people that are supporting Lively as well. So it's also like another beautiful thing that it's creating. But yeah, just like what I said previously is I go back to and I look at my sister and I look at the relationships that I have with like my staff and with my clients and how we can make Lively better.
And that's really amazing to me. Like, as I listen to you talk, your emphasis is so big on taking care of others and making sure that they get what they need. Where do you think you developed that type of attitude? Was it just your experiences leading up to what you're doing now? Or do you think it's like in your values somewhere? Where do you think you got that from?
Just just for like supporting women, or can you
Um,
repeat that?
just
Sorry.
I feel like you're really like supportive of your staff in a way. You know, you're very conscientious of how your staff is doing and how they're, you know, coping and how they're dealing with, you know, just working for you, which I feel like a lot of corporations don't do that. So that's
Mm.
why I'm just you're knocking me out of my seat with just your perspective. So I just want to, because for me, it's like, yeah, I have my values and stuff that I try to live by, but a lot of stuff I've learned just through living my life and having all these experiences. Where do you think you kind of like picked up, you know what, I want to treat my staff like this way, like in a way that really takes care of them?
Because that's how it should be. Like we need to be about treating people like they're human, that they're a living and breathing soul. And that's where I think a lot of businesses are doing it wrong. You don't treat people like they're numbers. And it's the same thing even with, for example, like my blogger. She was like in this place where she was like, hey, um, I want to be in the flow of things and I want to take some time off. And I'm like, go for it. I don't care if the blog, like we don't have a whole week of nothing. Go take care of you. Go take care of your kids. More than half of my staff are moms. So I understand that. Like I don't have any kids, but I have such a respect for women, and even if they're being a single mom or whatever it may be, that we honor that it's like, hey, yeah, do whatever you need to do and then come back and like let's see if you're ready to be back on with Lively. And I think that's how it should be. We should be more emphasis on, are you taking care of you? Because otherwise I don't want it to be questionable if you're to talking to a client and you're not in the right mental headspace. I don't want that. I'd rather you be 110% than, I don't know, feeling like you're 30%.
Fair enough. No, and that may have seemed like kind of a obvious question or not a good question, but based on just listening to you talk and just your perspective and your attitude, I had to kind of like dig a little deeper on that. So hope you don't mind kind of like I don't want to call it a weird
Oh, I
question.
welcome it. I was more perplexed. I was like, ooh, I have like three answers. How do I want to go about this?
Oh, well, that's even better. I'm like, that's better than hearing, well, I had zero way to answer that. So that makes me feel good. Okay. So you've done all this stuff, you've had all this success. Where do you see this brand and this company that you've built up? Where do you see it going from here?
So I had a conversation again with my staff and just with just with my blogger about like how we can provide more like mental health, just giving like advice and how you can create like your own like essential oils, for example. So I'm just kind of looking and seeing how we're feeling. And now that we're getting more comfortable with people being like vaccinated or whatnot, with whatever your view is on the whole vaccinated kind of subject. We are starting to be more into events and being around other people because we've been like in our shell and our PJs and figuring things out because it's just been a roller coaster 2020. So it's like now we get to breathe a little bit. And then, but it also goes back to like human connection and how we can continue that dialogue with building community, people first. How can we progress? So, yes, I would like to bring back retreats and do more workshops. It is in the future. I am planning things out, seeing how other brands can like be involved as well. But yeah, I mean, it's again, like it's an honor, it's a privilege to see how fast Lively has been. I mean, I started in October 2019 and now we're in 2021 and I'm blown away that I'm still like doing the things I love to do. So it's like I'm mind blown. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, hey, this is my life. I need to wake up and smell the coffee kind of thing. So it's just like, but I'm also open to whatever opportunities that may be coming towards Lively and just seeing how we can make the world like a better place. And I know even just with that saying, like, how can we make things better? I always teach like my staff and my clients, and just the overall message with Lively is that it only takes 1% that you can make a difference. And same thing with just like how, and I saw that a lot, and then put things in perspective when we had the whole snow snowstorm. Sorry, got tongue tied for a second.
That's okay.
I just seen the beauty of people helping each other out, like total strangers. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I was like, wow, this is what people need to see, and that people are helping each other out, even though they're strangers, and just being vulnerable with each other, being like, hey, are you good with water? No, I'm out. Okay, how much water do you need? Or like, are you out of food? Because a lot of people got stuck with the whole like, hey, I was waiting to go like tomorrow, and then boom, a storm, and then boom, no food. So I saw a lot of that, and that was like kind of scary. But then also you have to look into this whole, and that's like another topic, is with the whole like pay. And I feel like there does need to be like more benefits, especially like with food. Like people don't realize that we do have food shortage here in America, and that we do have it in Texas, and we do have it in Austin. But people want to turn like blind eye to that. Not for that. Do not turn a blind eye, especially when it comes to your community. Like look and see how you can build your community and start there first. And even when people are like, but Taylor, like I don't know how to like contribute to you, even with Lively, like I'm just like, dude, just like my posts, I appreciate that. That's supporting me. That's that way. So like same thing with the whole change with the Facebook algorithm. um yeah, getting more people to see my stuff, and that's kind of what I'm doing. Is hey, it takes one person. You're also helping local, and it's going back to you're human. We all have human rights. We all should help out each other. And I feel like this, for me, it's common sense, but to other people, it may not be common sense. But again, that's just like my opinion and how I see things. And it's just like, I really wish we could, just put our beliefs and everything else to the side and really focus on like how we can help one another, and not this whole like competition thing.
I couldn't agree more. And I will kind of leave it at that. I think you said it all. So I don't need to say any more on that. That's terrific. So you work really hard. You have a staff. You have total control over your life. Do you feel like you're making enough time for yourself to have fun, to actually enjoy the freedom you've given yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing better about that. I mean, I'm human just like everybody else, and I can be very like consumed with everything lively, but it's because I enjoy it. And that's the difference is like I'm not waking up and like dreading going to work. I wake up and be like, okay, what are we doing today? Like that's just kind of my thing. And it's just like I feel so blessed to be in that position. Um, and I also like dedicate time, like for example, like Mondays are where I go and help my grandparents. I'm still helping them with COVID, and so dropping them off like some groceries, and we'll have lunch together. Like that's been our every Monday kind of scheduled thing, and they enjoy that because it's like, hey, I get to see my granddaughter, I get to talk to her about Lively, I get to see another human because of like what happened last year, and they appreciate that, and they keep me in check with being like, hey, are you taking care of yourself? Are you sleeping at night? Because we know you got sleeping problems since forever. And I was like, yes, I am doing better about that. But again, it's just like I'm human and like I make mistakes, and I know that, I can go and I do have I'm human. I have like sleepless nights and where, Lively keeps me up at night and being like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have done that. It's just like, no, I'm not going to go through that mental like tunnel, and I'm not going to go through that path. And it's just, every week I look at this being like, I'm grateful for what I'm doing and how can I improve and what can I learn from this? And, just taking time with my family and, seeing my baby sister and just hearing all things. And it's, yeah, I'm grateful to that our world is opening up more and more, and I get to see my family, see my friends, and build more community.
So, do you have any advice since you talked about sleepless nights, having trouble relaxing? Do you have any secrets that you can share by any chance? One like
Yes. So I don't know if you're like an iPhone person, but they
yes.
have the whole like sleep time thing, and it's like an alarm, and you set it, and that's when all of your things will be muted, and only people who are on your like contact list can actually get through to where you can get their messages. That's been super helpful. And then cutting off caffeine because I'm very like, caffeine like coffee person. Yeah, Taylor, don't go for that extra cup at 5 o'clock. Okay. Because otherwise you're gonna be up till 1 in the morning being like, woo. It's like no. But yeah, just cutting off caffeine at 5. And then also for me, I like it on your Apple Watch where it buzzes you. I have mine set at random, but where it tells you to like meditate for like a minute, or really it's breathing. And even just for that minute throughout the day where it goes off randomly, I do that because it's just like, whoo, okay, like I just got off of like 3 phone calls, and it goes off and you're like, okay, breathe. It's like, okay. So
That's
that's like
awesome.
another thing that's really helped me too. And then in terms of like sleep, again with the whole salt lamps, having one in your room, but the one that has the dialer, so like you can make it super bright or super dim. That's been really nice. So like I turn that on at 6 or even just like an hour before bed. And then like even the salt lamp itself has like multiple benefits. I want to say there's over like 10, but that's been a really big helper too.
Wow. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And one thing you might hate me for is that a lot of times when I drink caffeine, especially if, excuse me, if I have my favorite, which is Dunkaccino from Dunkin' Donuts, it's terrible for you.
Oh,
Yeah, are you familiar with
that's
the
fancy.
it's not so much fancy as it is terrible for you, but it's like chocolatey and filled with
Ooh.
caffeine. So a lot of times I will drink the Dunkaccino. I will actually fall asleep afterwards, and then I'll wake up and I'll be super energized. I don't know why that is. I
I
don't know.
always admired that in people who can do that. Or even people who can just like sleep and go to sleep anywhere. I'm just like, what? That's so nice.
Well, I feel like as I've gotten older, so when I was like a lot younger, like 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I did not have that ability. That ability comes with age because now I'm to the point where I probably, if I really wanted to, I could sleep wherever. It just comes with age. And I feel like I have a lot of energy still for somebody my age, which I'm not ancient
That's
by
great.
any means, but I still feel like I have a pretty decent amount of energy, but I get tired. I mean, it happens to
Yeah.
the best of us. And there was a time in my life where I was like, I can't imagine ever taking a nap at all during the day. But
Right.
it, it
But
happens now.
sometimes it brings you in and like your eyes get heavier and
Yeah,
heavier. And you're just like, I'm fighting. I need to get through this last email of the day. Yeah, no. And that's another thing about like truly honoring yourself, being like, okay, do I really need this extra cup of coffee? Even though it's super yummy and tastes all the things. And I just really want it. But like reminding yourself and being like, you know what, I can indulge. And if like you feel like that's what's best for you in that moment, go for it. But if it's just like, hey, maybe not tonight, maybe I can like sleep a little bit better. Okay.
fair enough. Well, we have come a long way on this episode. I kind of had a feeling this was going to go pretty fast based on our interactions. We seem to always have something to say. To the point where I'm going to ask you to share how can people find you? How can they work with you? What can you tell everybody?
Of course. So you can connect with me on Instagram. So it's just at Lively Company. That's our main like hub account for all the other ones that, we have. And just send me like a DM and even just, yeah, I just like following other people. And that's like another one thing for me is not hiring a social media manager is I actually like to see what's going on and interact with my followers. I think that's another way to reach out to me. And then another one is through livelysisterhood.com or even through the Lively Chronicles.com. You can reach out and say hello. And if you're interested in being featured into the blog, like reach out. And then my main website, lively-company.com, is still underway. But yeah, Instagram all the way. Same with Facebook. It's at Lively Company. I answer to both, and then same with through the website.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you want to stay engaged with your social media. God, all this coughing. People are going to love that when they listen. When I think of the future and I think about controlling my own work, the one thing that I think about is I want to remain engaged in my social media. So I feel like unless you're just Bill Gates or something, that's really like the way to go. Like I want to stay connected to people. I don't necessarily want to lose that connection. So I think that's great that you want to maintain all of that as much as you can.
Yep, I try. Like I said, even with being busy, but yeah, I try.
So, is there anything else, any wisdom or any parting words before we go for this episode?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing that I want to tell people is it's okay to go against societal norms. It's okay to do your own thing, and if you feel like leaving corporate world to start your own, like you can do it. I mean, I'm a millennial. I did not see this coming when I started my journey being an entrepreneur, is that you can do this and that if you set your mind to it and you go for it, like you should be proud of yourself for even just putting that baby step. And then those that, we talked about like with sleeping and or even not feeling valued in the workplace, like just know that your feelings and your thoughts are valid and that you are a person who's valid. Those are my words.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule and for keeping me in line and making sure I would be here on time and everything else. I really appreciate the wisdom and just you are such an inspiration. And I know you're going to go out there and just continue to rock it and inspire and motivate and amazing what you've accomplished. And you should be just really
Thank you.
proud.
I really appreciate that.
Sky is the limit for you, I think. And it looks like time is the limit. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Time is
Uh,
of the essence.
or that too. Yeah, without the little dance, I can't really move like that. But um, that's our episode. So Taylor Harrell Goodwin of the Lively Company, Lively Sisterhood, Lively Travel Company, Lively Event Company, and probably a lot more to come. Thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you.
I'm Mark Schmidt. This was Mark My Words, and I'll be back very soon with a great new guest and a new episode. Thank you for listening.
Bye, you
Bye.
guys.